All right, all right, all right. Just a second here. Let's do that. Just a second, guys. I'm sharing and stuff. All right. Good evening, and thank you, everybody, for tuning in to the Self Checkout Show. Tonight's topic: the danger of a non evolving church. According to Merriam Webster dictionary, the word evolve means to change or develop slowly, often into a better, more complex, or advanced state. That's the definition of the word evolve: to change or develop slowly, often into a better, more complex, or advanced state. So to say that uh, there is a danger of not evolving is a true statement. If you do not change, chances are you will perish. It's a lot of reasons for that, and we'll get into it in just a few moments. But I do want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. And as we do every week, please make sure that you share and leave a comment letting us know that you are here. Good evening to Roz. I see you already. The Word Works Church is showing up already. Hey, Roz. Thank you for tuning in. Hey, Dr. Kermita. Dr. Kermita says, okay, well, God bless you. And I'm going to get to that in a moment. But of course, as we do every week, you guys come on in and share, leave a comment, let me know that you're watching. And we're going to have a fantastic time tonight. And what you see from Dr. Kermita Washington, I want to make sure that everybody has the same opportunity as she does. And if you will look at the bottom of your screen, after 2 years, two plus years, the ministry does have its own Cash App and its own PayPal. I did not want to do it because that's just not me, But after being advised to do so, I reluctantly went ahead and did it. And thank God there are people out there that were waiting to sow into this ministry. So if you are one of those people that would like to sow a seed into this ministry, you can do that tonight by way of our Cash App or our PayPal. Our Cash App is the $ W Taylor Ministries. And our PayPal, you can do paypal.me/W Taylor Ministries. And we do appreciate any and every gift that you all share with the ministry. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Well, guys, tonight we are here and we are going to have a phenomenal time. I don't know where Pastor Rob went, but we are going to move along with our show tonight. The danger of a non-evolving show. Hey, Mama is on. Mama is on. Hello, hello, hello. I got two of Bishop Williams. We need to take one of y'all out. All right, there we go. Hey, Mama, thank you. My biggest cheerleader. Thank you for being here. Hey, my sister Ebony is on. She says you are definitely a product of Bishop Jeffrey J. Davis with these definitions. Hey, man, I learned from the best. I learned from the best. Absolutely. Every time I preach, teach, I have got to give definitions. I learned it from him. You are right. Good evening. My godson's mama is on along with the twins. Charlotte Ann, thank you for joining us. Prophetess Sheridan Davis, hey, I see you. Thank you for joining us tonight. Thank you, thank you. Carla Moore of the Word Works Church, I see y'all in here. Y'all coming in. Thank you, everybody. Come on, drop some hearts if you're on Facebook. Let me know that you are watching. Drop a comment. Let me know that you are listening. Facebook, YouTube, Periscope, and Twitter. Thank you all for tuning in tonight. And of course, to those that will watch the replay, we appreciate you. Man, you guys, it is going to be a show. And I can tell you right now, do not expect me to end tonight at 8 o'clock because it ain't going to happen. Okay, it's just not going to happen. I have giants, people. I have giants that have come through the self-checkout show, and we are going to talk some good stuff. Mac Brown is here. Hey, brother, how you doing? And Mac, you behave yourself tonight. We're not fooling with your shenanigans on this show tonight. y'all know Mac will cut up on y'all. All right, we got some more of Bishop and Lady Williams people here. Sister Alice is here. Brother Eric Harris, Reverend Eric Harris. Hey, my man, thank you for joining us. Everybody, I want you to send some hearts up for my guests tonight. Let me introduce, neither of them needed an introduction, but I would like to introduce officially to the self-checkout show for the first time, my friend, my brother, the Apostle, Robbie Wilkerson. Come on, send some hearts up for this man. Apostle Wilkerson, talk to us. How you doing, brother?
Hey, man, I'm doing great, man. I'm just excited to be here. Looking at this panel, I know I won't have to say a whole lot, but I'm here to offer my input, man. Thanks for inviting me.
You are very, very welcome. I am honored to have you. When I initially put this together, I said I need a certain kind of people that I wanted on this particular show. And I thought of you, and I reached out to Bishop Jeff. And all right, let's connect this so I can get Apostle Rob on the show. So I'm honored, my friend, that you would be with us tonight. Mac Brown says, but I wasn't invited. Well, you know, we'll talk about that off the show. we'll talk about that later. All right, you guys. You all, if you do not know, you need to know that each one of my guests tonight, I have a relationship with, and we have been friends and family for many, many, many years. So these are not just fly-by-night people that I just grabbed just because. No, this is family, y'all, that I have on here. And next, of course, the lady, Pastor Marilyn Williams, along with her husband, Bishop Jesse Williams, are on the show tonight. First-time guest. So glad to have you all. How y'all doing?
Doing good. And yourself?
Doing well.
Doing great. I am deeply honored to have you guys on tonight. Man, look, when we did that reunion a few months back, wow, we wanted to do Beat the Devil Down so bad, just so Jessica could get that mic.
He was ready.
We gotta do something soon. We gotta do something. That's right. DCC is here. Amen. DCC is in the house. Bishop Jesse, what's going on, man?
Nothing much, man. I'm so honored, man, for this opportunity to be with you and my brothers. Both of them are my brothers. You're all my brothers, and I'm just grateful for the opportunity, man.
Absolutely. And if you all did not know, I let me say this. Each one of them in their own right are some amazing anointed preachers and teachers.
Absolutely.
But I also want to point out that Pastor Marilyn is one of the most phenomenal singers I've ever heard sing. I'm not kidding. Even when we were coming up, I used to go to Creation concerts to hear her sing. She is phenomenal, and she's got music out, y'all. She's got music out on any streaming site. Marilyn, tell us about what you got out there.
My CD is called Stretch, and it's on all digital outlets. And you can also
See you for hard copies.
see me for hard copies. Yeah.
Absolutely. I was able to purchase the latest single. I said purchase. I didn't say just listen to it. I bought it.
Amen.
Okay.
Amen.
Yeah. So let's find her on any of your music streaming sites to get download her singles.
Thank
We
you,
also
Apostle.
Apostle Robbie, we got it too. He got it too. Alice talking about that blue carpet and gray duct tape we had over on Cicero and
Oh
Adam.
yeah.
Right.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Good evening to Pastor Greg Huggins Jr., my main man. Good to see you on tonight. Lady Lakeisha Sanders, whose husband is Antoine Sanders, who have the Connection Circle. I think I'm saying it right. They are doing an amazing job over there. Sheridan said we got a few copies. All right, for Pastor Marilyn. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
And ladies and gentlemen, you all know my last person needs absolutely no introduction
No
at
introduction.
all. He is absolutely one of the best to ever do it. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. He is one of the best to do it, and I've said it before, and I will say it until God takes me out of this earth. Everything that I know about ministry, I learned from Bishop Jeffrey J.
Absolutely.
Davis. He is back on the
Bless
show
you,
tonight.
man.
Hey, Bishop.
Hey, man. Bless you, man. Y'all know how to make me blush, right? Because that's what we're doing.
Hey, I'm just telling it like it is.
Like
I'm
you
good.
see how
Like
he
it.
is.
Y'all saw when I first started tonight, I started with a definition. If you came under Bishop Jeff Davis as a minister, you had to know what you was talking about. You got to research, and because now let me tell you the truth, and this will actually lead us into our discussion. When you have a good leader who knows ministry and knows how to preach, because they are two different things, good preaching will make you want to preach, and it'll make you want to preach better. So I studied him because he was one of the best to me. I studied him, and a lot of the things that I do, I know it, and it's okay with me. When I am preaching, I get it from him. So I have no qualms about saying that. It's the truth. So he is definitely my father in this thing. Pastor Jackie Davis is on. Don't come on here with all that mushy stuff, because we ain't doing that. Talk about her bay and all that. We don't care. No, we are deeply glad to have Pastor Jacqueline Davis along with us for the ride tonight. Thank you, everybody, for dropping your comments and hearts. Chris Mitchell says, "That's my bishop."
Oh, man. Smart guy.
Hey. Glad to have you on tonight. So, guys, we are talking tonight. Our topic is the danger of a non-evolving church. And at the top of the hour, I gave you guys the definition of the word evolve. If you were not here for that, I said that the word evolve means to change or develop slowly, often into a better, more complex, or advanced state. That is the definition of the word evolve. And 9 times out of 10, every show that I do is because I have seen something or I have heard something and it affects me, or I believe that it is affecting the church overall. And as you look around, we all, each of you are senior leaders in what your churches, and obviously things change. If you look at candy bar wrappers, they are not the same as they were in the 80s. They change, they evolve.
Right.
They shrink too. They ain't giving you as much as in the little wrappers as they used to.
Right.
But the fact is, they evolve.
Right.
McDonald's restaurant, they don't have the same look that they had in years past. Everything is evolving. Everything is changing. And we, even as people, not just as Christians, you're right, Charlotte, them potato chip bags, they changing them too.
Oh, yeah.
They give you 75% air
Air.
and 25% chips. You are absolutely right. But the fact of the matter is that everything around us changes. Everything around us evolves. We evolve.
Right.
And I do believe, y'all, that there is a danger. I believe it. There is a danger if you do not evolve. Mac Brown says, Bishop Davis, this makes you an apostle. Well, he is in his own right. He won't take it, but that's who he is. But anyway, so I thought about this, and I was looking at some old videos, y'all, and everything. Now, let me say this first, and every question that I ask tonight, I do want to start with Pastor Marilyn. We're gonna do ladies first tonight, and she's the only one here, so we want to start with her. I look at old videos, and everything that I see from the past, Apostle Robbie, it's not bad. I'm not saying that.
Right.
No, it's not. A majority of it was good, and it was good for us. It is the reason that we are who we are today because of what happened in the church past. Now, here's my concern. I believe that many are stuck in what used to be. And I'm afraid that it's not working anymore. And what do I mean by that? I think that, see, when I was a kid, Pastor Marilyn, and I'm going to turn this over to you, every Sunday, the preacher would take us to Calvary. I mean, almost to the point where I could preach with him word for word when he started to close. Okay? And that's what we knew, and that worked back then. You know what I'm saying? But that was in the 80s. I think that there could possibly be a problem if we are still stuck in that era and we have people leaving the church because it's stagnant. It does not evolve. It does not change. Yet at the same time, like I said before, all traditions are not bad traditions. So let's talk about that for a second, because even Jesus said that traditions of man have made the word of God of none effect, right? So Pastor Marilyn, let's talk about that. Do we have a problem here?
Yes, we have a problem. Because a lot of times people don't want change. You know, they want things to just remain like they are. You know, like the old saying, say, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. You know, and a lot of people don't want to change, even though we are changing. You know, the churches are changing. Even the word of God, the way it's being preached, is being changed. I mean, it's not the same. Like you just said, Pastor, you said it was not a Sunday that we did not go to Calvary, and you can say word for word, because you knew it. You know when it's new, and matter of fact, not only did you not know it, you knew when he was getting ready to go there. But nowadays, don't nobody talk about Calvary no more. It's all about 3 clothes, 3 points and a close. And nobody never mentioned it anymore. And a lot of people say nowadays is that, listen, you ain't preaching if you ain't went to Calvary.
I've heard it said.
You just ain't did it, you know, because I believe that it should always be a constant reminder of what he did for us.
Okay, well, let's talk about that, because what if I am talking about, what if I'm preaching from Psalms 100?
Yeah.
What if that's where I'm coming from, which it technically has nothing to do with Calvary. I'm talking about praise. Is it necessary for me to go to Calvary? You see what I'm saying? While I'm talking
Right.
about something totally different.
It's not necessary, but at some point in your sermon, you can switch. You know what I'm saying? You could pull it in. It's not necessary,
Mm-hmm.
but it's needed.
Gotcha. Okay. Bishop Jesse.
I I believe that like you were saying, that you used to go to Calvary all the time. It's not necessary in every sermon. It doesn't fit with every sermon. You can make it fit. You can always tie something in, but it's irrelevant. But I do believe that we've gotten away from the real purpose of what is going on in the church. His death, burial, resurrection is the reason there is a church. And so by us getting away from that, I believe it has hurt the church. But everything changes. It's just different styles of preaching, different deliveries. Don't mean that it's wrong. Don't mean that it's bad. Every building that is built has a foundation. It might be a different type of building, but it still has a foundation. And I think at some point we need to stick with our foundation, but then you got to evolve with your foundation. When they built the John Hancock building, they said, okay, we can do better, and they built the Sears Tower, but they both had the same foundation. So that's what I believe. Yeah.
Apostle Robbie Sheridan echoed what was said. She says, without change, you die. How does that relate to a church that will not evolve?
So in my opinion, of course, we have great appreciation for the foundation. Absolutely. But I think where our forefathers missed it and we kind of picked it up is that there is a life beyond the cross and Calvary.
Right.
So although our pastors taught us in our preaching to take people to Calvary, take them to the cross, and so we centered our messages around getting there. But now there are people who are so depending on the church to feed them information and to give them direction that affects their life outside of the cross. So now if we take people to the cross, they're wondering, okay, now that I'm here, now that I'm saved, now that I get it, what do you have for me that's going to allow me to advance and progress in my own personal life? And so that's why we don't throw away the sermons that take us to the cross, but we build on top of those.
Right.
And we
Foundation
strategies, building blocks that take people to the next level. So I think the problem comes when we start denouncing the foundation and saying, forget about that. That's nothing. We should celebrate those who laid that foundation, but we cannot become a part of that foundation because those who are coming behind us need more than what we once had. So I think we come together and we build on top of that thing, and we fight against individuals who want to tear down our foundation.
I think that is a very good point. Glenda Ann Lofton, hey, how you doing? Good to see you tonight. Thank you for coming back to the show. Change is essential, says Pastor Greg. You, Apostle Robbie, you are right, and Bishop Jesse did bring that point up. And I want to go to Bishop Jeff about the foundation. We stand on, well, not we, let me say you all, stand on the shoulders of people like Apostle L.W. Bolton, Bishop R.J. Burt. There are so many others I could name. You stand on their shoulders, people like me that have come from you. I stand on your shoulders, right? And there it goes on and on and on. However, Bishop Jeff, we get honoring the foundation. We get that. We get that. And I agree with that. And I think that we always should. However, I want to put this up here. Why does it seem that the old way is no longer working? Because I to each his own, but as we progress, I don't think that old way is necessarily working anymore. Talk to me about that.
You know, I'm gonna keep my answers short. I've been privileged. This year be 26 years that I've been a pastor, and when I started going to church in the 70s, church was different from the 70s to the 80s to the 90s when we started. I've been privileged to see that traditional foundation setting that I come out of. And then I've also seen when I started to be a pastor, that is when the full gospel, as we would term it, explosion happened, which brought our church from traditional into full gospel, which was a blending of apostolic Pentecostal into our Baptist churches. And then now we moved from that into, I don't really want to call it, well, we are where we are. Let me say it like that. But I've been able to see all of that. And one reason why the old way won't work right now is because everything changes. Our message hasn't changed, but our methods have to be updated. Nobody, if you're driving a car from the 70s, it's a classic now. It's an old school. You'll see license plates with AV on it. It's harder to get the parts to fix those cars. Everything has changed, and the church is not exempt. And so we must understand that even now, I do not detest anything. Matter of fact, I have a greater appreciation for what I learned from my traditional setting and all of that. Those things I understand better now, the songs and all the things they said. And I think it's crucial for me to say that that particular generation of preachers, not only was their education limited, but their experiences were limited. And so when we had the cross, we had the cross. That was what they had. And so we came along and we built on that. And so now this next generation is going to take it. They're taking it and they're building on that in the respect that they have experienced more and know more at an earlier age than we do. So I have decided that the next 10 years of my ministry, I'm really focusing on what am I going to leave behind and what I have now to pour into them, because the way I don't even preach the same way as I did when we first started the church. When we first started the church, you all were there. We were the cutting edge church that were talked about. We were talked about for doing things the way we do them. We did praise and worship, but we were doing congregational songs.
Yep.
But we were doing praise and worship. So, and with female preachers and all of this stuff is the norm now. There was no internet. There was no Facebook Live. There was none of that. Things have changed. And if we don't change and take advantage of what God has placed in front of us, the church won't die. Our ministries will die.
Yeah.
That's what's going to happen, because God, you got to remember, do y'all see all these people God calling to preach every day? All these churches that's being opened up in the pandemic, the church ain't going to die. It's just that what worked won't work. Even with, like, say, my mom and them was married 58 years. I couldn't take their marriage and make it my marriage, because what they had to endure, we endured something different. So the message is the same, but the methods must change. It must, I believe, in my opinion, we're the forerunners. We're the trendsetters. So, we must adapt. Y'all, I don't put it in layman's terms. Either we adapt or we die. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is why it's necessary for us to have this conversation tonight, because, well, I'll finish, but I want to take a look at this. Eric Harris says, yes, I stand on the shoulders of Dr. J.F. Johnny Lee Miller, one of the preachingest men you will ever hear. He says, but I can't be him today. When God called me, he didn't tell me to be him or like him, because if that was the case, he wouldn't have needed to call me, because he already had me. Excellent point, my friend. I also want to take a look back at this comment that Sheridan made, and I want to go to Pastor Marilyn with this. She says the principles of God, and Bishop said this, remain the same, but the methods change. Each generation has to have this conversation. Now, here is why this is important. I did some research, and I think it came, I know it came from the Christian Post and they did a study. They did a survey, and in that survey, they found that 59% of millennials who grew up in church have left the church, and they gave a number of reasons as to why they left. And of that 59%, 13% of them said, I'll probably never go back. Something, we're missing it somewhere. And so Sheridan says that each generation has to have this conversation. The principles of God remain the same, but the methods change. Pastor Marilyn, are we missing it? Are we not connecting to the millennials? Are we not connecting to those who come behind Generation Z? I don't know. It's so many of them out there, but the ones that come behind the millennials, are we missing it somewhere? Because they're leaving the church building by the droves. Talk about that.
I don't think that it's all of the ministries that are missing it, because some of us are not, we are not missing it, and we are trying to reach them where they are. You know what I'm saying? We are trying to minister to them on a different level than it was, like Bishop said, when we were coming up, or better yet, even when we were under him at the ministry, So it is, you got to try and reach them, because I try and do it like that with my grandchildren. You know what I'm saying? I try and reach them on a different level than I would try and reach them, the people that's in my congregation. Yeah. But this is the thing I want to say too, about that is that our children, our millennial, what they call them?
Millennials, Generation X,
and all that. Listen, the world is swallowing them up. Whether we doing it right or whether we not. You know what I'm saying? They just it seems like this generation want more of the world than they want of God. You know what I'm saying? You can only present it to them. You can only try and minister to them and give it to them. But when a person don't want it, when a young person don't want it, and it seems like the world is offering them more than what the church house is offering, like me and Bishop was having a conversation. Well, he was having a conversation. I was just eavesdropping because he was on class, and it was like, you should have a birthday party. You should throw a birthday party, or you should now these are non-members. This is just for somebody in the community. Like throw a birthday party for them, or what was some of the things? It was your class.
Invite the seniors out
for their birthdays, and yada yada yada. Invite the youth in and have this and have this. This is a form to draw them. And I heard the Holy Ghost say to me, why we got to use all these different forms to draw people? Ain't I enough? Ain't my word enough to draw? You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying not to do things differently, because like I said, I have to do things differently with my grandchildren and with the youth that we have at our ministry. We gotta do something different. Thank God that we have some people in placement, you know what I'm saying, that's young, that's gonna take that role, you know what I'm saying, and help us to be able to reach, our young crowd, and our young children. But like right now, I call you Peter. But right now, Peter, it seems like, even with my grandson, I'll just use him. When the pandemic came and we had to get out of church, he took that and ran. You hear me? I mean, he ran and he ran back. He don't play drums no more. He don't play the organ no more. He don't come to church no more. When I see him, he comes in to pick up my great grand. If I have him, he come in and pick up my great grand to get his son, and he back out the door. He wants, and I talk to him. I say, what is it? Is it we not giving you, you know, what you need. No, grandmama ain't there. It's what he wants, you know, and God right now and ministry is not what he wants. And no matter how much I try and minister to him or talk to him or try and reach him, you know, he'll say to me, grandmama, you know, I hear you, and grandmama, you right, you know, but at the end of the day, that's all it is. He's
So,
gonna continue to
I,
do
I,
it.
I want to acknowledge Pastor Robbie, who had his hand up.
Okay.
So I just wanted to speak to the millennials for just a minute. You know, the millennials have access to information.
Right.
We never
Right.
had access to.
Right.
You right.
When we were coming up, we had
Right.
the Bible, we had the Strong's Concordance, and maybe we can peek into the Star Book.
Yeah.
That's all we had.
That's
And then
all we had.
we depended on our pastors and leaders to give us everything that we thought we needed. The millennials can jump on here and they can access the Aquarian Gospel of Jesus, the Nag Hammadi library. They have access to these things that we were forbidden to even look at. And so now we can't really respond intelligently to the questions they have based on some of the things they've been exposed to. So they don't look at us as a source of information anymore because they have different questions about the structure of the Bible and who wrote it and where it came from. And all of this information is right at their fingertips, because I don't care. And Pastor Marilyn, I don't care how far a young man strays away in a season that he's in. He's always going to be looking for something bigger and greater than himself. And so if we can't present what that is in a way that they can understand, something palatable for them that they can digest and agree with, then they're going to be pulled in a different direction. And so the things that we were forbidden to look at, and I'm not trying to be controversial or introduce any new doctrine, I'm just saying anything that's out there dealing with Christianity, as leaders, we need to at least know what it is.
Absolutely.
We need to have some information about what it is so that we can either have a rebuttal to it or be able to explain it in a level that our young people can receive. Because now with the internet, there's so many, everybody's a preacher now. Everybody's a pastor now. So those of us who've had intimate relationship with a Bishop Jeff, then there's a level of respect we have for him because we have that personal relationship with him. But those who never had that personal relationship with a spiritual leader, they just pick one on Facebook. They pick one online and they roll with whatever they're saying. And so I just think we have to come together as leaders and find out a better way to get, I don't want to say combat information, but help our younger people understand what the information is about that they've been exposed to.
We have a question, and I wanna throw this one to Bishop Jeff. Pastor Greg says Generation Z is considered to be the most biblical illiterate generation of all. Those are ages 6 to 24. What new methods do we need to put in place to reach a generation that has access to more technology to fact check our faith? That's a good question.
That's a loaded question.
It is.
Reason why that's a loaded question is, and it's a good question, it's a couple of things. One reason why they are the most illiterate generation is because of their parents. Okay, we got to make sure that everything don't fall directly on the pastor and the church.
Exactly.
Because some things happen at home. And so there are some things that need to happen at home. Another reason why they are could be one of the reasons I believe they could be less literate than I was is because they have more distractions. They have a ton of distractions. Life is distracting for them. So very few of them are waking up to read the Bible. They'll get a verse dinged into them, verse of the day or something like that. But very few of them are studying. They're distracted. They got a lot of distractions. But I believe the only one of the main things that we can put in place is to update. And I'm talking about like myself. I have a millennial. Jalen is 25, and Jalen, she stopped going to church for different reasons. Now, but here's the thing. My daddy, I'm gonna always tell her she need to go to church. Y'all know that. But here's the thing: we have to learn their language.
Yeah.
We don't have to become them, but we must learn their language. And the only way we can learn their language is to talk to them and to listen to them. We have to listen to what they're saying, because this generation is more emotionally involved
Absolutely.
than we were. Their emotions are their spirit, man. And I want to say this. I don't want to say that their generation is more in the world than we were. We just know it because they posted. We couldn't post it. I know numerous people who, when they got 18, said, "I'm not going to church no more." You know, I know numerous people who went to church and still partied. Come on, y'all. People brag about, I partied and got out of there Saturday party and Sunday morning, got right on and came straight in from the party and went to church. So I don't want them to be worse. I think that we need to really, really listen to them, because they ain't just, like Rob said, all we had was our preacher. We depended on our preacher. They ain't just taking our word for it. We have to be able to give them answers, or we got to be honest enough to them to say, I don't know.
Yeah.
We got to be honest enough. And I think we can really help them by saying what we know and what we don't know, and be open to try to learn how to communicate with them. Y'all, that's a big deal. And whenever I sit down, and I'm hurrying up, whenever I sit down and talk to my daughter, Jalen, I listen, because she's highly intelligent. And some of the things that she's saying, the way she's saying them, I never think about them that way, especially when it relates to spiritual things. You know, they ask questions that we took for granted and said, okay, we believe, that's good. Well, they want to know why.
Right.
And they want to know how. See, that biggest thing for them now is, how do we serve this God? How do we get to know this God that y'all know so well? How we need to know how. And so they stuck. And when we can't tell them how, they go to what somebody tell them how they can do.
Yeah.
But I think we can help them by learning their language.
Go ahead, Pastor Rob.
We're on the time. And then everything that happens negatively from a spiritual leader is broadcast nationally.
Everything.
I don't care what they do. It's going to be on Facebook. It's going to be on Instagram. They're going to TikTok it. They're going to make memes about it. And so our young people, they see that. And so, and I use this panel as an example. They may not see Jesse and Marilyn, who have fought through all kinds of things and remain faithful to each other, to the kingdom, to the gospel. They're going to see some other pastors somebody who divorced his wife or some stuff like that. So it makes them feel a certain way about spiritual leaders. And this internet does it, man. I just wanted to add that they see more negativity, wherein back in the day it was no internet. It wasn't like this stuff wasn't going on, but as Bishop said, it's broadcast. And it causes them to form an opinion about spiritual leaders and the church in general.
Bishop Jesse, Jessica Gray says it's hard to draw them into something that looks like the world. Many church organizations have dropped the ball. You know what? It could take a while to unpack that right there, because I personally,
that's more than one suitcase.
Listen, that ain't a carry-on, okay? I personally agree with this entire statement. I agree. However, and let me just drop this on you. I want to go to Bishop Jesse. She says it's hard to draw them into something that looks like the world. At the same time, though, we have some leaders out there now who are drawing them by the thousands.
Right.
Because it looks
because
like
they
the world.
look like the world.
Absolutely.
Come on, y'all. And you know what? I'll get in trouble for it tonight. I'm talking about the likes of Apostle Matthew Stevenson. Come on.
Yeah.
The low lights and the smoke and all of
I'm
that.
with you.
They're
Yeah.
drawing thousands and
drawing
thousands of
thousands.
people.
Yeah.
It's a lot of stuff I could say about that. But I'm just using him for an example. It doesn't look like a church.
Church. No, it doesn't.
Okay. We don't dress anymore like the church. I can't remember the last time I wore a suit on a Sunday morning. We at my church, and I appreciate them for it. We can wear summertime, man. We can wear t-shirts, jeans, shorts, sneakers. I appreciate that. And now I do understand that a lot of young people love that, and I ain't young, but I love it too. However, some ministries, nothing about them look like the church. It looks like the world. And Jessica saying that many have dropped the ball. Pastor Jesse, go ahead.
I believe I agree with her, but I disagree. And let me tell you what I mean by when I say that. I believe one of the reasons is because some places look too much like the church. They don't want the church. They want God. Some of them want the word, but they don't want the church. They don't want the order. They don't want the structure. They don't want the accountability of the church. But on the flip side of that, like you say, we have a lot of these churches that look like the world, and it's drawing them. It's drawing millennials. It's drawing Generation X and Z. But is their relationship? Is their relationship with God? We got the picture of God, but do we have a relationship with God? And I believe that that's one of the problems that has happened to the church, is that we stopped looking like the church. We stopped acting like the church. We stopped really being the church. And we started trying to adapt to them, adapt to people to draw them. Are we trying to grow a church, or are we trying to get them to have a relationship and build disciples?
Bishop Jeff.
I agree with what Bishop said. I want to throw this in because it goes, when you started asking the question, I immediately thought about someone whom I pastor. I presently pastor them. And this person, he was an open, practicing homosexual who actually would, what do they call him? When he would do the female impersonations and made a lot of money and all of that stuff. But he'd come to church and all that. And so here's the thing. I was talking to him one day and I said, would you ever, and this is, I'm gonna tell y'all exactly what the conversation was. I said, in Chicago, if there was ever a church with a openly gay pastor with music ministry and everything just pumping and jumping and pumping like it, it can, I said there would be a lot of people to go there because they wouldn't feel, the weight. I asked him, I said, would you ever go to a church that the pastor practiced homosexuality? And this is a person who openly practiced and cross-dressed and made money for a living. And he said to me, absolutely not. He said, when I go to church, I need that preacher to be living what he's preaching. He said, I'm not coming here for them to give me more who I am. I'm coming here to become something different. And see, the problem is, and this is the problem. This is a problem, man. It ain't necessarily the building and the look of the building. It's the integrity of our walk.
Yes.
Holiness is holy. Our young people don't know what holiness is no more because we blurred the line with scripture. Now they're not interested in walking, the scripture. They want to know, what can I get away with? And see, one thing about young people I talk to, I'm always real with them. I let them know I ain't perfect. I ain't been perfect, but I'm not gonna be you. I can't be you and lead you. You can't look up in the club and see me. You can't see me with swishers and blunts and with my yak and all of that and doing everything. You can't see me like that and lead you because I'm not leading you anywhere but other than where you are. And so there are a lot of churches that have dropped the ball because you can't find the power of God there no more. When the show is over, nobody's healed. Nobody's even challenged. Nobody's delivered. Nobody's set free. We're dancing more than we ever danced, but we're bound more than we've ever been bound.
Wow. That was a lot. Apostle Robbie, I want to throw this one to you. I really want to talk about that some more, but I'm gonna keep it moving because that was heavy right there. Well, this comment kind of puts into perspective something that Bishop just said. Sheridan says, to be honest, some of us got tired of hearing, quote, the Bible says, and learning that it doesn't say that.
Right.
Some folks in the pulpit don't know the actual word. Sometimes the ignorance makes folks say they want God, but they don't want the church. In the past couple years, I can say a lot of people that I talk to, Pastor Robbie, Apostle Robbie, I don't Jesus people to death because I'm a pastor. I don't. I like to have just regular relationships with people. Let's just be buddies. Let's just talk. Let's talk about sports. Let's talk about current events. Let's talk about, whatever. However, because I am who I am, I'll kind of encourage in a, subtle kind of way, or whatever. But I'm finding, like Sheridan said, in personal talks with people, that there are people who say, yes, I'm okay with God. I have my relationship with God, but this church, I don't want to have nothing to do with for various reasons.
Right.
Let's talk about that. Apostle Robbie.
So the I believe that was Davis, Sheridan Davis, and she classified, I don't know if that's a he or she, I'm sorry. Classified it, that's a lady. She classified it as ignorance. I personally would challenge that as being ignorance. I think the quest for God is an innate thing that rests in every human being. The quest for God, no matter where you are. Some people find him in different religious strains and different religious denominations, but we all have a quest to find God. But what has happened is, this is my opinion, what has happened is there's so much fluff and so many obstacles between the church itself and getting to God.
Right.
There's so many distractions, so many obstacles.
Right.
And even in some cases, there's so many things that I want to say this right because I don't want to be offensive. There's so many don'ts connected to the church. There's so many traditions that's connected to the church that sometimes hinders us from getting to God. So now some people, because they can't meet all of the standards that this particular church have placed in front of them and all these barriers, their question is, can I get to God without all of these barriers? And sometimes we make it difficult because in our humanity, we set up all of these roadblocks. You can't dress a certain way. You can't do this, you can't do that. So when a person like a Matthew Stevenson says, you can wear your earrings, your tattoos, whatever you want to wear. Matter of fact, dress like me because I'm going to do it. So it looks like he's torn down all of these barriers to get to God. And that's why they say, and some people look at it differently. They say, well, that's ignorance and you can't get to God without all of these barriers. I think we have to look at that and make sure that's factual, that all of these barriers is what God has set in place in order to open a door to get to him. And the last thing I'll say about this is, you said something, you said it doesn't look like the church. You said what's happening today, it doesn't look like the church. And I think we should even explore that because the first century church didn't look like the second century church. And so as Bishop said, the church of the 70s don't look like the church of today. So I think we have to clearly define, what does the church supposed to look like for us to be able to say that don't look like the church.
Can I say one thing? I think that I think somebody that's my age, we have to be very careful, because we cannot ask someone who hasn't experienced what we've experienced to desire what we desired or what we were exposed to. And I think that like you said, when certain ministries come along and say, well, you ain't got to do all of that, I can see that working, because whether you know it or not, if we're not careful, we're the new Pharisees and Sadducees with our protocols and all of our different things. We got to be careful, like you said, that we're not putting things in the way of getting to God. But we also now, once we get to God, we got to know that there is a code of conduct. There is a standard that we must come up to. And we cannot tell this generation that there is no standard, that everything goes, because everything don't go.
That's right.
Pastor Marilyn, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, you know what I wanted to say it earlier when they was talking about the churches don't look like the churches anymore. You know what I'm saying? And it doesn't. The majority of the churches now, they look like the club. They got when have we praised God in the dark? I mean, they got the lights, you know.
Cut them lights on.
They got the smoke, you know what I'm saying? They got everything like what we had in the world. Look, the lights and the smoke and all of that. I was doing that when I was in the world. You know, when I was going out and clubbing. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, why do we have to adapt to what the world does when it comes down to God?
So can I just ask this? So when you and we talking, because I need help with this as well. When we say that, what do we use to qualify that statement that says this looks like the world and it shouldn't be dark and it shouldn't be smoke? What do we say to those who are drawing thousands of young people because of that? What do we use as our foundation to say that's not God and that's wrong? And
let me say this, Apostle. Just because they drawn them don't mean that they changed. Because it's a lot of people that go at some of these churches, they ain't living worth a nickel of a dime. And they could be preaching it from sun up to sundown. When they leave there, they leaving with their dudes, they leaving with their girls, they leaving with somebody else's husband or somebody else's wife. They ain't getting that. They just drawing them. And see, a lot of these big churches, they go there because they want to hide.
And I agree with you, but historically, everything you described have always been in the church.
Always.
Small
Can I
church,
say
little church.
Go ahead.
But I
Yes, it has. Yes, look, it has always been in the church, right? But it was hidden. Nowadays, it's so openly and exposed. They don't care. They don't care nothing about none of that. You know what I'm saying? It's what it is. And the first thing they want to say, don't judge me. That was the end thing. About a couple years ago, they was just laying on it. Don't judge me. You judge it. You judge it because of this. You judge because of this. No,
that's still being said now.
Yeah,
that's still being said now. Now I want to go to Bishop Jesse, and in relation to what we're talking about right now, I want to drop this comment. Jessica Gray is on it tonight. She says it's not all millennials who are drawn to those types of ministries, though. It's some that's really after God, have a heart for God's kingdom, but are just tired of seeing all the mess in ministry, politics in ministries, scandals, and so much more.
100%.
So,
absolutely,
if I can just draw from that, and kind of get with Apostle Robbie, I see what you said. If this is what they're doing to draw people and it's working, but the people, they're in the building, but they are not changing, according to Pastor Marilyn.
Exactly.
So are we still losing? Because the purpose is to draw people to the kingdom of God. We do that through our church. But Jessica here is saying that you know, it's not so bad to do this, but it's the other stuff, like
That's mixed
those
in
that's
with.
listed there, that's the problem. Bishop Jesse and then Bishop Jeff.
Well, I wanted to say I wanted to say this. How do I want to say this? This is how I want to say it. When we were coming up, what happened in the church kind of stayed in the church. It wasn't exposed. We had so many secrets in the church, and as time went on, and each generation, it's like, look, I see this going on, Mama. You take me to church every Sunday, and I see this going on, but you don't want me to say nothing. But then the next generation said, I'm going to say something.
Yes.
So then, it just began to, everything got exposed, because now it don't matter what happens or what we do, it's all out there. I want to say this. One thing that has happened in the church, I believe, and I stand on it, is accountability. We don't hold people accountable to the word. We're trying to pacify people, and we want to draw them, but we don't want to hold them accountable to what we're trying to draw them to. And I think that's one of the biggest problems in the church. If I draw you, and I know you living in sin, and I know you're not living nothing, and I don't challenge you on it, I just want to give you an emotional stir. We bump and we out, and get your offering. Then we're not winning. We're not winning.
We're not winning.
And put
We're
them
not
out.
winning.
So what you gonna do when you challenge them? You gonna tell them don't come back to church?
No. When I
Gotcha.
challenge them, my challenge is, look, this is not right according to the word, to this Bible we both believe in. This is not right according to this Bible we both believe in. You believe in it. You came to church. You say you believe in it. And if we believe in this Bible says this. At what point do we try to get to that? And then you got to minister to them to the point to where you try to get them to do what this Bible says. Because if not, it's all in vain.
Bishop Jeff.
I was sitting here thinking about her comment, which is very, very, very good. And I was thinking about the parable of Jesus when he's talking to his disciples, and he talks about casting the net. And he said, when the net comes, you got everything in the net. That our job is to cast the net. And then our job is to teach, preach, and live the word. And those that want to go further, they're going to go further. And then our job becomes to make disciples. So when I think about what we're talking about, what's going through my mind is, have we asked the millennials, what do you want? What's going to help you?
Good.
What's going to help you get to God? How can we help you get to God? And what's in the way? What are we doing? And I'm just saying, because it's real. What are we doing? And when we talk, we're talking in very broad strokes here tonight. But what are we doing that's a turnoff to you? What are we doing that's a hindrance to you? But I think they need to be asked, because our goal, y'all know, we preach every Sunday, and we hope when we cast the net that they come. And when they come, we don't know what we're getting. We don't know what kind of work we got to do. But the goal is to get them to come. And so I'm very big now, because of where I am. I've really been studying certain things, and not that I got a new gospel or nothing. I got a greater understanding of it. And I think that for me, nobody asked us when I was in church. Nobody asked us. This is what it is, this is what you do.
Right.
And so we went along with it. But now we need to ask, how can we better get God to you? How can we better get you to God? Because like Jessica said, there are a lot of them that's coming. They want, y'all, it's evident, because when we look at certain churches, they are there.
Yeah, absolutely.
They are there. They are there. And they're all around. They're all around. But what can we do in the next step of getting you closer to God? How can we do that?
Right. Bishop Jesse.
I think another thing I would like to add is that this generation is saying, why do you want me to come to church for something that's not working for you? Because we see so much scandal in the church and so much fluff in the church and so much of this going on in the church. And they're saying, you want me to come to a building and you want me to come sit in a service where it seems like it's really not working for you because mama, daddy, when you get home, it's totally different from when you at church.
That's right.
I want to look at this, and before I take a look at this next comment, let me say this. This is me. I applaud people like Matthew Stevenson.
Yes.
Because whatever he's doing, it's working.
It's working. And it's working across the country.
Across the country. This man is opening church after church after church after church. He is doing apostolic work, and the people are coming. I do want to also say that I believe that out of all these thousands of people in the dark and with the smoke, I still believe that there's somebody getting to God.
Absolutely.
I believe it, and
I believe
that.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
So ministry looks different for everybody, but the original point was the ones who refuse to evolve are the ones who are losing out.
Right.
Okay. Now, I want to look at this comment now that I've said that. Nefertaria says, I don't think that it's necessarily that we're losing. It's based off people's preference and what draws them. When you go to a grocery store, there are several different types of breads, but people are picking the kind that they want. You better preach, girl. It's a preference of what you are actually looking for, holiness or entertainment. It's a preference.
True. That's true, Pumpkin. It's so true. That's a very good statement.
So Apostle Robbie, go ahead.
I was going to say, and this is just my opinion. I'm one man with one opinion. Y'all know that. So the next generation of church, trust me, it will not look like Great True Vine. It will not look like Jordan Temple. It will not look like Spirit of Truth. It's going to look like All Nations Worship Center or whatever.
That's right.
Because all of those individuals who see that, just like when we stepped out of the box a little bit with Gospel Truth Ministry, but the foundation was pretty much similar to what we were used to. These people who are going to be the next generation of churches, those churches are going to be like that. They're going to be dark. They're going to have smoke and things like that. We have to determine, is that going to be wrong? As Taylor said, is it working for real? Because I think you all agree with me when I say I would say 90+% of people who go to church, they are looking for God. It doesn't mean they're going to get him, but they are looking for him. And as Nefertaria said, they're going to pick what fits in their personality type and what appeals to them. Wheat bread versus white bread, bread with poppy seeds in it. And it would be different. The Church of Chicago, and all of us was a part of that one church. Then if you excommunicated from it, you feel left out. But because there's so many different varieties and styles of churches, if as Bishop says, I challenge you on it to the point where you say, I'm now uncomfortable here because I'm too challenged. Let me go to new life where I don't have to be so challenged. I can just have a good time and go home. So it's not going to look like the old churches. It's just not going to look like that no more.
I agree with that. I agree. But I would like to add also to that, and I hear what Nefertaria is saying, and it is such a true statement that people have a preference. But we're in the business of discipling and winning souls. And so when people choose entertainment, we're losing. If they choose God, hallelujah. But if they choose entertainment, we're just not winning. We're not winning.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, go right ahead.
I hear about you know, I'm hearing like, you know, what we should do, you know, like what should happen, and I don't see nothing wrong, you know, with the way that, you know, the church is being presented, you know, for the smoke and the lights, and you know, but whatever happened to doing it God's way? I mean, it's like God has been taken out of the equation all the way. You know, it's not about. I believe if you were called by Him and He gave you instructions and He gave you the blueprint of what He wanted, why withdraw if you did what He said?
Well, let me answer that this way. What if I answered that by saying principles never change,
Right.
methods often do.
Right. Can I add to
The
this?
method of I got you, Bishop Jesse. The method, I think, Pastor Marilyn, of how we do ministry changes, and it'll change again, and it'll change again. But the principle behind it should never ever change. Am I saying that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, like, God is
Same yesterday, today, and forevermore.
yeah, he's a changing God. You know what I'm saying? He will tell you, he'll show you, he'll equip you, he'll let you know, you know what I'm saying, how to shift, you know, and when to shift, you know, and all of that. But and I have no problem with none of that. And I wanted to say this earlier. It was said, ask. I think my bishop said this. Ask them what they want. I've done that. I've done that with my grandson. I've done that with my granddaughter, Renee, who is not in church anymore. Once she reached a certain age, it was like, I'm done with this. You know what I'm saying? You can't, I'm grown now. You know what I'm saying? You could tell me to come to church when I was younger. You know what I'm saying? You could pray. You could tell me to pray. You could give me the word. You give me all of that. But now that I have became 21 or over 21, because my grandson, he'll be 23 this year. Zanae is 20. She'll be 21. You know what I mean? So it's like, hey, I'm doing me.
And there's a lot of that happening. There's a lot of that happening because, and I talk to people. I'm still in touch with people who are adolescents, with young adults. I talk to them. I listen to their music. I watch some of their shows because I always want to be able to relate to what they're saying. Now, here's the thing. We could give them Jesus all their childhood, their young adult. We can give it to them, give it to them. But let's just tell the truth about it, y'all. When they reach a certain age, if it's not in them, they're going to go because they know we can't stop them. They know we can't stop them. But here's the thing. There's a root down in there somewhere.
Right.
And I'll tell you what, they might stray, but they won't stay. They will not stay, because if we have instilled the right thing in them, I guarantee the prodigal son. Come on.
Yes, come on.
When he came to himself.
That's what the scripture says.
Huh? Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, I sound like I was preaching. When he came to himself, you know, he found his way back home. And so if that's happening with a lot of our churches, a lot of our families, when they come back, are we going to be able to accommodate them? Are we going to be able to feed them the type of food that they want to eat? They're willing to eat if they can eat the way they want to eat, so to speak. So they may not want soul food. They may want Portillo's. If you understand, y'all understand what I'm saying. We got to change the meal a little bit, but still feed them. The principle does not change, but the method will. Oftentimes, the method will. I want to put up another comment. Where is it? Because we eventually got to get off of here sometime. I had more questions. I can't ask no more questions because we're in it. Okay, here it is. Pastor Greg says, but are we patient enough to wait on? This was in reference to what Pastor Marilyn said, I believe, because she mentioned shifting. And I want to throw this one to Bishop Jeff. Then I want to hear from Apostle Robbie. Are we patient enough to wait on the God shift when everything in our world is instant? We've lost our ability to learn to wait and trust His way.
And trust His way.
Come on, Bishop Jeff, go with that.
The reality is, for me, where I am now, I've been doing this a long time. And where I am now, God is doing something in me over the last 6 months where I've taken a deeper look at grace. And the reason why I took a deeper look at grace is because I really believe that some of us have not been as willing to extend what we have accepted. I'm saying we cannot that people gonna need coming in, these young people, they're gonna need us to be patient with them because they ain't gonna know how to do it. And it ain't gonna be instant. And the desires, we gotta stop lying to them.
Yes.
And that all these desires just gonna leave all of a sudden. They didn't leave us all of a sudden. We had strongholds that took us time.
Absolutely, and a lot of time.
And we had to be worked on, and so you gotta. I think that we must be patient with them. We must learn how to give them the grace that was extended to us, so that we could be bishops and apostles now. You know, we must be.
I want to before we move any further, because y'all, we got so much more to unpack. And I want you all this group right here to come back and help me unpack the rest of this. We got to, because there's so much more. I'll set it up with you guys so you can come back. Apostle Robbie, I want your honest opinion as an apostle. Are we missing it with this generation of people?
Well, I think some of us are missing it, but I think there are men and women out there who have made the necessary adjustments. It is my belief. I'm a avid optimist, so I'm always optimistic as it comes to people. I just don't believe a man starts a ministry with the intentions of being deceiving and stepping out of what he believes is the will of God. So when we say, and I'm with you, Pastor Marilyn, and I think that was Greg said, are we willing to wait to make sure we know that we're doing it His way? I think we miss it, Willie, when we take ownership of what His way is.
Right.
And say, His way is my way only. I think we win when we open it up to a diverse God,
right,
who and His Spirit who has been pouring out on all flesh, right? And I think if we leave room for individuals and trust that what may look like something that's not God, let me dig a little deeper before I determine that it's not God.
Right.
Because I don't believe His way it just has to be my way. So when I look at churches and pastors who are doing things that I never thought about doing, I don't want to quickly dismiss it as that's not God. I want to make sure that I can check myself and say that could be God, but this could be God too. Back in the days, 60s and 70s, Pastor Marilyn couldn't be on here. because women wasn't
Absolutely.
allowed to do what
Yes.
she did.
Women weren't allowed. Yeah.
They wasn't allowed. So I'm
Mhm.
saying, as the church, and you use the key word, evolves. As the church
Yeah.
evolves, we have to leave room for that evolution. And it may not fit in our paradigm, but we got to check ourselves and say, maybe this part of what God is doing doesn't involve me. And I can just celebrate on the sidelines and keep
Right.
doing what I've been called to do.
I want to hear from each one of you before we get off. Let me say this. Next week, the same thing happened when I had Dr. Nancy and Pastor Martise on with Ask the Murphys, various things about various relationships. You all asked them to come back, the viewers that are watching. They will be back next week, next Wednesday. The following Wednesday, I have a couple of young ladies that will be on here, and the topic of that show is the first to say goodbye. We're going to deal with grief after one loses a spouse and how to navigate through life with that. And the following week, to close out the month of February, yours truly, Pastor Will, has a special message that I want to get out to you, and we're going to command you. We're going to command you, and the title of that topic is "Don't Die Now." I'm going to talk to you guys the last Wednesday of this month. But listen. And let me get mine done now, because I want to hear from each of these before we go. I want to just drop this on you. No one church has the entire blueprint to how church should go.
That's
Okay?
right. Absolutely.
None of us have the blueprint to say, I'm doing ministry exactly right. Because let me tell you something. If getting people to Jesus Christ is your motive, no matter how you do it, you're doing the right thing. If you really want to get people to God, if you really want people to get to heaven, yes, some are pushing the envelope a little bit. Some are pushing it a lot. But again, the end result is, have I preached Jesus to you? Pastor Marilyn talked earlier about going to Calvary. Let me tell you what the gospel is. The gospel is the life, the birth, the life, the death, the resurrection of Jesus Christ. That, my friends, is the gospel. And if we're preaching anything else, yeah, we're missing it. No matter what you talk about, no matter what you preach about, no matter who you talk to, if you're talking on trying to win them to Christ, something has got to revolve around the birth, the life, the death, the burial, and the resurrection of Jesus Christ. That is the gospel. While we're trying to be charismatic and offer all of this sensationalism, you can do all of that.
Yeah.
But if you're doing it and not inviting Jesus Christ in the equation, my friend, you're missing it. You've lost. Because we can grow churches. It's easy to do that. But what's the purpose? What's your motive? And what are the people eating? What are they eating? So here's something I just want you to think about, because I have a lot of preachers and ministers, fivefold gifts, watching this show tonight, listening to us. I want to ask you, what are you feeding people? What are you feeding them? If your goal is to grow the church, you've missed it.
Right.
If your goal is to get all this money, because that's what so many people just harp on, money, 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 sacrifice, give. You've missed it, my friend. The ultimate goal has got to be Jesus Christ. At the end of the day, it's got to be about Jesus. Now, I want to get that out. Because I got to preach every week on my show. That's my preach for the night.
Sending our 20. We're sending our 20.
Pastor Marilyn, and then Bishop Jesse, and then Apostle Rob, and then Bishop Jeff. Give us something to hold on to until we come back again.
Well, hold on to his word because it never changes. I just hold on to his word. I mean, that's the only thing that I got. You know what I'm saying? And his word has never failed. And it'll go out, but it will not come back void. It will accomplish whatsoever I set it to do.
Bishop Jesse.
I was part of a church called Gospel Truth Ministry.
Yeah.
And we didn't have no smoke. We didn't turn out no lights. And people piled in there by the hundreds. And even when I left, I saw people continue to pile, and from Gospel Truth Ministries to the Word Works Church. And when it was on Division, you couldn't even get down Division.
Absolutely
And
right.
all you had was the word, some worship. That's all you had, and a leader that was living right. And so I truly believe that if you can live holy, live a life before the people, and deliver the word of God, and give God the best worship you can give him, God will do the rest.
Apostle Rob.
There used to be, Willie, a time where the success of a church was measured by the size of the building, the number of members that were a part of that church, which caused a lot of inferiority for smaller churches and superiority for larger churches. But what the pandemic has done for us, it has created a level of equality where now your success cannot be measured by just the people who are buying a ticket to come into your church. But now it is a more impactful ministry and messaging that we measure our success by now. So what I'm saying is success yesterday could be different today. So you never want to measure your success by what another ministry or another church is doing.
That's good.
Right.
God is called for a certain group of people, and when you meet their needs, that's where your success is.
I want to shout out to Bishop Holloway, who has been with us tonight. I don't know if he's still on here, but thank you, Bishop Holloway. He's a friend of mine, a friend of all of ours. Thank you for stopping by the self-checkout show tonight. Before we hear from Bishop Jeff and we're done, if you will tonight, won't you share a $20 gift with the ministry tonight? The ways to do that, you'll see scrolling across your screen right now. We do have our own Cash App and our own PayPal. Won't you be a blessing to the ministry tonight with a $20 gift? Amen. We have a lot of things happening this year, and we do solicit your assistance by sowing into this ministry. Bishop Jeff, come on.
Let me say, I thank you for this opportunity to include me in this conversation. I appreciate that. And I want to say, man, y'all have said so much good stuff. But I am the reason why I want to thank you for including me in this conversation is because there is change taking place inside of me as it relates to ministry. And to hear what Bishop Jesse said and Apostle Rob said and things you said, and I understand that I am not who I was when I started. I understand through life's experiences and all of that stuff, I'm different. And I believe now is the time for all of us in ministry to, instead of, I want to use the right word, instead of pushing back on what we've gone through, we take that and use that now to do ministry the way we can do it now. We've got so much experience. We've got so much wisdom. We've got so much knowledge. And yet we're still pretty young. And I believe we can make a difference if we take these conversations, we analyze them, and know that we're still useful, that we're bridging the gap. God is using us to bridge the gap. We really did. We were part of the generation that bridged the gap from traditional church into the church that we have now. And now we are still a part of the conversation as we're bridging the gap between what we became and what we're becoming. And so I think it's important for us to understand that we have what we have, and we're going to get, God's going to open up to us simply because we've been faithful. So I want to thank you for allowing me to be, I really think I'm old now, but I think I'm still pretty hip. I think I'm still pretty cool, but, but I understand I'm not the youth preacher anymore.
Right.
And so I
awesome.
understand that. And I understand that I'm not the general either. I understand where I am. And so I operate in that. And I want to thank you for including me in the conversation. And yes, I'm gonna sold my $20 through Cash App.
All right. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Charlotte said I need to make this a front line. Charlotte, I think you're right. I think I may not have them back on this show. We might have to just go ahead and come down somewhere and talk, because there's so much more to talk about. Y'all, I'm going to get off of here. Bishop, Apostle, Bishop again, and Pastor, don't you all leave when I end this live, because I want to talk to you for a moment. We're going to get off of here, but everybody, thank you so much for tuning in to the Self-Checkout Show tonight. Man, it's been great. You will see them again. We're going to talk about it. I'm going to try to go ahead and pull something together, see if we can work that out. You got, please, if you haven't shared this, please share this broadcast, maybe in the hopes that somebody will hear what we've talked about. Maybe there's some son, some daughter who has strayed away. They may hear something from this broadcast tonight that will say, you know what, I do need to go back. I do need to get back in church. And I'm going to say this too, and we're done. I'm okay with Pastor Jackie. Yes, I will give you the Zelle information to our ministry treasurer. I'm okay with different methods and all of that of how people do ministry, how people do church. Again, just at the end of the day, y'all, just preach Jesus. You can't go wrong. All right, we'll be back next Wednesday night with Ask the Murphys. Next Wednesday, 7 o'clock, right here. I'll see y'all then. Don't forget to sow your seed. W. Taylor Ministries, Cash App, PayPal.me/W. Taylor Ministries is our PayPal. I'll see y'all next week. God bless you. Thank you all for joining us tonight. Bishop Jeff, Apostle Rob, Bishop Jesse, and Pastor Marilyn. Thank y'all for being here tonight. Peace, everybody. Have a good night.